Hi, everyone. My name is Mahesh Vinayagam. I'm the CEO and founder of qBotica. Today, we'll have a discussion with the CIO of TPI Composites, Theo Gibson, on how TPI Composites is transforming their global accounts payable function using automation as the driver. So, coming to me, I am the CEO and founder of qBotica. qBotica has been a company that's founded 4 years ago, focusing on automation and AI, and we are powering global enterprises to automate their various functions, whether it's finance, HR, their operations, order processing, healthcare claims, and so on and so forth. And we actually work with many other partners, technology partners like UiPath and Abby to drive the solution, apart from having our own RPA as a service function, which is what we actually used with TPI. Today, let's jump into how our RPA as a service function is powering TPI Composites. Theo, good afternoon. How are you doing?
I'm great, Mahesh. Thank you.
Thank you for your time today. So would you like, I actually would like you to introduce yourself and then give an overview of who TPI Composites is.
Yeah, so Theo Gibson, I'm the CIO for TPI Composites. TPI Composites is a manufacturing company based out of Scottsdale, California. We've been public for several years now. We have around 15,000 employees globally and really focused on being the largest outsourced manufacturer of wind turbine blades for the renewable energy business. So it's definitely a growing business and happy to be a part of that.
Brilliant. I think you are contributing to the green revolution, really helping us all conserve some amount of energy, fossil energy, and use other sources of energy. That's great. So would you describe your goal when it comes to digital transformation, and also explain any challenges that you are facing in establishing or achieving that goal?
Yeah, it was really a business initiative started by a lot of market pressure to improve our company's overall operating margins. You know, we've been a high growth business, and as you know, that growth is not the same year over year. The market says, well, you know, how are you improving your margins? And you know, our CEO has asked all of the functions to contribute, and for IT, it's a simple concept that's been around for some time now, which is how do we digitally transform the different business functions in those 15,000 associates that we have globally and make them more efficient and take costs out, and then even help us grow further, right, without adding costs back. So the digital transformation piece is really about working with each of the key business stakeholders, the leaders of finance, HR, operations, engineering, and making sure we're digitizing everything that we can about their business processes, which for a typical manufacturing company is usually not a high percentage. So a lot of opportunity for us, and you know, really one of the reasons IT is able to drive some real bottom line contributions.
Brilliant, brilliant. So, you know, in terms of, you know, I know like it's very interesting that IT is leading that digital transformation. So let me just kind of quickly understand that piece. So who's your business partner, or are you anchoring the digital transformation, or do you have a business partner anchoring that transformation in your organization?
It is me. So you know, the CIO, I actually report directly into our CEO. So my peers own, you know, the P&L or the different functions like HR, finance in the organization. So I'm driving investment decisions on a monthly basis with them, including the CEO. And so we have a very business case driven process to intake new project ideas, make sure we capture the business case, you know, what is the cost takeout or the margin improvement, inventory, you know, tangible benefits. The CFO's team helps the IT team validate those benefits, and then we make good decisions on how to spend the corporation's money, not IT's money, right? It's what makes this nice. If it has a very good payback, it has nothing to do with the IT budget. It's just a good business decision to invest in, that digitization effort. So although it's driven by IT, I would say the decision makers on what we do are, each of my peers and includes the CEO as well.
That's amazing. There are only few organizations where the CIO is actually driving the investment decision. So we are, very amazed to hear that. So in terms of driving the digital transformation journey, what are the options that you consider, Theo, in terms of choosing the portfolios or use cases, and then what are the choices in terms of external help, in terms of vendors or products that you are banking on to solve this problem?
Yeah, in terms of prioritization, generally what I kind of describe as the pull versus push method works well. So if I'm pushing as an IT person the ideas on the functions, they tend to not get well adopted, well deployed, and you probably don't get the benefit everybody signed up for. So when we started this, the CEO and I said, who really wants this the most? They're going to get the help they need. They're going to get the investment dollars. They're going to get the focus. And, that naturally came out of the finance organization in our case. They were going through their own transformation, putting in a shared services model, having, been operating globally. They had, every function within finance independently in each of the regions, and, a true shared service model, plenty of opportunity to centralize that and drive cost actions out of that. So, finance came to me and said, hey, we think we really need some help on this. We don't just want to move like for like processes. And that's really where the digital transformation discussion comes in, because the last thing we wanted to do, the CFO and I, was just move a lot of people's jobs, keep them the same to a different location, and save some incremental labor costs, for the same activities that were very labor intensive in terms of processes. So, finance just having that initiative really gave us a lot of energy from them to work with us on, hey, how can we take costs out before we move all of these processes to a shared service model? So out of that came, within finance, what makes sense? Well, definitely, the payables is one of the first places that always makes sense from automation and, how do we take the manual processing out of this? And, I'd say, what sounded simple, and we'll get into it, Mahesh, definitely became more complicated, because as I quickly learned, our regional-based approach to manufacturing also meant we had a lot of different processes to do the payables for our supplier invoices around the globe, which, I would say anything that you want to automate, you would love to have that nice, clean, global process that's consistent across all the sites before you do it. But that's definitely part of the hard work to it. But, that was, really the impetus to say, how can we figure out where to start? Finance ended up being the place. And then the next part of the process was, what technology we're going to use. And, I'm not leading a large IT organization. We're lean. We're 70 people globally, supporting almost a $2 billion revenue business. So I don't have a lot of people that are experts in the automation space, whether it's the RPAs or OCR or any of the other technologies. So for us, it was about finding a partner that could help us navigate through the many different technical solutions that are possible. I mean, as you're aware, Mahesh, you can buy an off-the-shelf, high-end package to just process, payables, that work with an ERP, or you can just say, hey, there's a lot of technologies that are much lower cost, but somebody kind of has to stitch those technologies together and make it work. And that's where we really needed someone like qBotica's help to say, how do we architect this and solution it and have a low cost to operating it, knowing that my IT team is not going to be big enough to, maintain it. So a lot of it for us was, finding a partner that could really understand where our specialties were versus where we needed help, and knowing that, we wanted to move fast, and get something done quickly.
Brilliant. Oh, that's great to hear. So, you're working with global system integrators, right? Very large GSIs. And why did you choose qBotica over those GSIs, Theo?
Yeah, I think the GSIs definitely have their space, in the IT and business process design, industries, right? I think for us, we use them early on in our ERP deployment to help define the business processes and do a lot of high-end design and such things. Now, unfortunately, a lot of those GSIs, they have very good resources, but they come at a cost. And again, going to our business model, we are more of a we want to concentrate on margin. We want to make sure we're getting good value for the money. The GSIs tend to be, experts at everything, versus, one thing. And you do find sometimes, they have a practice, and we did talk to many of them. But to me, it was, always about, hey, you're being part of a bigger ecosystem and not just buying into, hey, they're really good at automation. And I think to me that, having somebody nimble, flexible in that just pure automation space was more important than the larger ecosystem you get out of a GSI, because we don't need help with our ERP system, with some of the other things that we're pretty self-sufficient on. So it just didn't make sense for us to make the additional investment with those providers and not get the flexibility, the responsiveness, some of those things that they're not necessarily known for in the market. So
okay, great. We are very fortunate. So in terms of you actually went and chose to run this as a service, right? So kind of you really gave your partner to run accounts payable as a service across the globe. So it's quite kind of unique and innovative, and not many in the industry actually thought about thinking about this at this point. So what made you kind of really bite into that idea, Theo?
Well, I think before the project, my background with TPI is still right under 2 years. So when I first came into the organization, it was very clear to me, even though I've always been a cloud first or cloud right kind of leader, our team definitely did not have the capacity or the capability to drive everything to a platform as a service, or to manage something in AWS, or to pick something up and develop it. So, I knew that, just adding another platform into the mix for us, just given our size, was not going to be good. And I think the other thing to it is we also don't have a lot of expertise in it. So, for example, even with just payables, we haven't really been doing any projects around that to automate it, versus a partner like qBotica, who's been doing this a lot. So it makes a lot of sense for me to say, hey, this team is the experts. It's not going to be my team. My team's small. I have one chief enterprise architect for the entire organization, and he's not going to be able to figure out the solution and manage the solution for everything. So to me, there was a big impetus on making sure we could find somebody to quickly put a solution together. They could support it, knowing that I could invest the resources and the time to insource that or do it myself, but it just doesn't make sense. I mean, it doesn't make sense. We have a growing business, very growing business. I mean, we've tended to add factories globally around the world, once every 18 months on average, or even more. And so what happens when we go to another region and, we put that many more just in the invoice space, that much more on the solution. I don't want to worry about it, any of that, whether it's the workload itself or the technical solution, the licenses, all that stuff. Much less headache for the CIO to say, hey, let's just manage this as a platform. And I'm very happy we were able to do that with you.
Excellent. I see. That's great. I think when you look at shared services generally across, shared services, you lift and shift to a different destination. Most of the times it's actually serviced by an external partner. So it actually made more sense for you to kind of really offer that as even the automation piece, the running the technology also in a similar manner, because the shared services lends itself to such an operation. It's not like an operation that was really being integral to your business. Like you mentioned, you would rather spend the time and effort to build more factories than having to support a process or build an automation engine or integration of automation platforms to drive a process that you have been doing for so many years. And rather you would actually have someone else do it. And that's great. I think you are setting the example for many shared services organizations in the world. There, Theo, congratulations. In terms of really, let's just dive into the review, right? So what happened in terms of what markets did you kind of start with from the accounts payable function? What are the metrics? And give us some kind of idea around where did you start when you actually put the plan? Where did you want to go? And where are you currently, Theo?
Yeah. So in terms of the markets and how we got started, definitely, with finance driving an overall shared services vision, we looked at that very closely together. Where most of the operations were happening was Mexico had already centralized a lot of the finance activities for the Americas region. And just from a volume perspective, it made the most sense. And since they had already done some shared services activity, they had some more standard processes than, let's say, the other regions, right? The other regions being very standalone. We're going to be unique, and we knew that. So I think, finance and IT agreed that, the Mexico shared service organization made sense because they had some processes in place, and that was going to be the first phase of not only the supplier invoice automation project, but the overall finance shared service initiative. And I think those assumptions turned out to be true in terms of having started in Mexico, and it took I think what's amazing, even with probably 2 or 3 weeks of us finalizing the scope with the business, it was only 2.5 months to get this solution fully deployed. So, if I would say if the business had everything locked down in terms of scope decisions and what was in and what was out, 2 months would have been a very doable project plan. So, I've been extremely happy with, having been in IT for over 20 years. There's not a lot of projects that you can say went live with a brand new technology solution that the business has never used before, that was fully integrated with Oracle, EBS in 10 weeks, right? That's something that would have been an amazing thing years ago. And I know now it's an option, at least with solutions like qBotica provides. But I think that first phase was really crucial to get off the ground. And we, I think, Mahesh, I'll get the final numbers for our next session, but I think we're getting to close to 50% first pass on processing as we clean our data and get those processes better. But amazing results so far in terms of true touchless, invoice processing payment. It's been really great in terms of getting the benefits expected. And we quickly have rolled that through to Turkey. So that was the next region we went to, which definitely went quicker. They did have some unique requirements that we did have to solution with your team, as you know. But It's really nice to have a platform and just roll that across into the next region and really just deal with, what's different. And, once now that Turkey's live, we're looking ahead to, a global deployment that includes, our India business, our China business as well. So good.
That's great. That's great. So truly touchless invoice processing, start to finish, 10 weeks, including, just starting, the scope discussions with the business and getting into implementation. So that is the true power of this automation technology, using RPA and primarily RPA as a service. That is a dream for many of us in this industry. And we have a real story here where we went live in exactly 10 weeks, and the next market went in about 7 weeks. It had actually a lot more complexity, a few more business process changes and all that, but new vendors, new layouts, new templates, but we all actually delivered the true promise of the technology. So I'm actually very proud of being part of this implementation, and the entire TPI Composites team was like amazing. I think collaboration at its best to get this out. It's not easy, and we hear stories, sob stories, where people actually do many, spend a lot of time, a lot of money. Sometimes they actually do like death by PowerPoint, death by POCs. Did you ever do a POC at all, Theo? Looks like you never did a POC. You just went.
Just did it. Mahesh, I think you bring up a good point, because this is something I'm trying to get my IT organization to understand, and is that why am I so unique that I need to do a POC, right? If I really have a partnership with my provider, they've demonstrated the ability to do it. Let's go do it. And there was another example of this that just came up in my organization. We wanted to do a POC for an SD-WAN deployment, and I said, "There's nothing to do a POC on. This is a technology that is out there. It's proven. It's demonstrated. Let's just go, right? Let's just go do it." So you're right, Mahesh. Like, this is one of those that you can just jump right in, and I know it was in the early days. Hey, show us an example of an invoice and what Oracle version you're on, and we'll go figure it out, right? It's just something you got to get your hands dirty on and go do it. So I'm glad that's how we did this.
Exactly. I'll tell you that you are probably the CIO of the year when it comes to going and believing in the technology, understanding it, and and not using a POC as an excuse to waste time, or you just you knew it was going to work and kind of dive into it. So truly unique and transformational, and shows the risk that that you take and the rewards that has shown up already in this project. And hopefully the India and the China market also goes as good as Mexico and Turkey.
I expect it. Yeah.
Excellent. And Theo, could you just describe the road ahead for you? I know this particular technology that we used at TPI Composites from a global accounts transformation. We used combination of RPA, OCR, and some amount of machine learning to kind of really drive the transformation. But as we evolve, as the use cases get more complex, do you see yourself using more machine learning, more AI, and also for other processes with the proof point that you have? Or would you truly embrace automation as the way forward from transforming business processes and shared services?
Yeah, I think in terms of next steps, I mean, having gone through a lot of the analysis of the functions, I mean, we still have some low-hanging fruit, good opportunities that not yet require true AI or machine learning. So I'm sure, Mahesh, we'll get those done quickly, just like we did for the invoice automation piece. But there are some exciting ones that I think are more true AI, machine learning. We as a manufacturing company still create a lot of data There's a lot of data that's collected manually, either by our suppliers or we have to provide for our customers. So I think, there's definitely some opportunities to leverage that OCR type technology and then make use of that data with some machine learning, especially in terms of quality. We think there's a huge opportunity to look at all the data we're gathering, whether it's at the machine level or, again, a lot of the paper processes we can't get rid of because of the supplier customers, and figure out when are we going to have a quality problem. Not that we want to have one, but the quicker we predict we're going to have one, the less potential issue that is for us, and definitely something we talked about openly in our public quarterly reports, is that something we need to improve on. So I feel like that's the next big area, and definitely is going to need a little more sophistication to get that value out there. But again, I think it's there. We just got to get enough resources on our side to work with your team to say how do we get the outcomes we want from applying that technology. But clearly is on the next set of initiatives that we want to do in this digital transformation initiative.
Brilliant. And I'm going to ask you $1 million question in terms of the ROI. So where are you with the ROI of the current transformation of invoice automation, and where would you like it to be, or is it within the ballpark of your expectations?
Oh yeah, Mahesh, this was finance and myself had this went to the top of the list, not just because of the initiative shared services and just the finance team pulling on it. If you just looked at the pure financials, thousands of invoices a month manually processed, going to a shared services model, reducing the number of FTEs required to do those invoices. This has a payback well within a year, and that's without getting everybody on board, right? So as you know, we only have Mexico and Turkey online, and we're already getting good tangible benefits out of this investment. And once we have everybody online, it's definitely one of the better ROI stories in our digital transformation portfolio for sure. So
Brilliant.
Extremely happy. Our CFO is very happy as well with those returns. So
excellent. So under the year payback for a global function, it's tremendous. And you were saying it's just like only 2 markets. So once all the markets go in, you're going to be under 6 months, maybe 2 quarters.
Exactly.
Great.
Exactly.
This is phenomenal. And Theo, thank you for your time today, and obviously your partnership with qBotica. We are very fortunate to have such a collaborative and a leader that takes the risk required and provides us the confidence. I think it's important to have confidence on the partners, confidence in the technology, and it will work if all of us kind of go towards a single vision. So you are kind of a role model for that, and so we are all proud to be working with you, Theo.
Thank you, Mahesh. It's been a really great partnership, and I look forward to the next set of initiatives to go after. Thank you.
Excellent. Great. Thank you. So that's it for today.